Adventures! It's Kelly with the Children's Museum of Sonoma County, and in this week's art adventure, we're going to look at op art, learn some drawing techniques to create optical illusions with our drawings. Alright, so the first design we're going to look at is what I'm calling the sea star design because it reminds me of a sea star. So let's take a look at how it works. So the first thing that we're going to do is draw a couple curved lines, almost like a stretched out C. And we're going to draw 5 or 6, all radiating from the same point, and all curved in the same direction. Then what we're going to do is begin to create these curved lines radiating from the center, and you can see that they grow larger, that they reach both ends, and that they kind of come together at the ends there. What we don't want to do is have sort of a rainbow effect. We really want those lines to curve and for each end to meet at the other line. And we're just going to repeat this for every little section here. And when you get to the end, you could keep going here. You could make this as large as you wanted. So I'll just speed this up so you can see the rest of the drawing here. And when we get to the end of where those initial lines are, you can see that you can just keep going and adding more lines on as you please. And then I'll just quickly show you how you can create one that is going the opposite direction. So these initial lines are going in the opposite direction as the first one. So here you can see we just kept going with these lines, but I wanted to tell you that you want to work on each side a little bit at a time. So for example, if I'm working on, and I'm having these overlap, which is something you can do if you want to fill the whole page. So you just want to work on, say I want to add a couple lines to this one. I might add 3, and then before I go anymore, I'm going to move on to this one that's next to it and work on that one a little bit. And that'll help keep you on track. So let's keep seeing if we can fill up the whole page, and then we'll color it. All right, guys, so now we can see we've filled up our page. Ooh, so we're ready to color, and I love to use colored pencils. You could use markers or anything you want, or you could just leave it black and white because it looks pretty cool. I'm gonna show you a quick little technique for shading. Shading is a really awesome way to create a three-dimensional look to your already kind of three-dimensional wacky sea stars. So to do shading, pick out 2 colors, a dark and a light of the same color. So I'm gonna do green. I'm gonna pick out the really dark green and then the really light green. And I'm gonna color the edges of my section dark, and then the middle section light. And you can already see how that starts to make it look three-dimensional, but then you can add your light color in the middle. And see how I'm kind of doing my pencil on the side? So that's a nice technique if you're trying to fill up a lot of space. That's just a quick little example of how you can do shading to create kind of a three-dimensional look. So I'm going to color the whole thing in all different colors. we had a bit of a coloring marathon, and here we are with one variation of the Sea Star Op Art drawing technique. All right, now for our bubble design. The first thing you're gonna do is have a fresh piece of paper, and then for this one we're gonna use a ruler, and I'm just demonstrating. You don't have to have an actual ruler. This is just a piece of a box, and I just cut it along the crease so that it has a straight line. So if you have a ruler and you can measure and want to do that, that is so fantastic. But if you don't, that's okay. So we're gonna create a grid using a pencil and just draw some lines that are going across, up and down. So what you don't see is that I've gone down the edges of my paper and created marks at equal intervals, and I'm using that with my straight edge to create lines that are even and straight all the way across. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the top and line those up so that I have a grid with equal sized squares. Okay, so we have our grid, and the next thing we're gonna do is draw circles. And it's handy if you have something circular that you can trace. So I have this mug here, and I can just put that right on top and then use it to trace around. And there you go, we have a grid with some circles on it. You could just do one circle. I'm gonna do two. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is pick the lines that go the most through the center of your circle. If you can see, mine don't go exactly through the center, but I've gone over those lines that are almost in the center and made them a little bolder, and then I'm going to erase these other lines because we're gonna draw curved lines to give our circle a three-dimensional shape. So our next step is going to be to draw curved lines, and this is what turns our circle into a sphere and gives it that three-dimensional look. And then we have our checkers that we can color in and give us that optical illusion of a bubble popping out of the page. So you just want to draw a couple curved lines here going up and down. Okay, so we have our bubbles here. We've curved the lines and given these circles a three-dimensional shape with a grid background, and now we can start to color it in. And I'm gonna color this one black and white, but you could choose any kind of rainbow colors that you want. Okay, so this is our final bubble design. You can see we have these three-dimensional orbs coming out of a gridded background. And the last thing that you can do if you want to add a little bit more pop to it is to do just a little bit of shading around some of the edges of the ball here. And you could do that just with a pencil, just really lightly. And that could help add a little bit more of a three-dimensional shape here. And then you could also add some shading to the background here so that it really looks like your ball is popping off of the background. So I hope you had fun with that, and if you want to share your designs, I'd love to see them. You can email them to us or put them on our Facebook page. Thanks!